Hello, good morning. You're watching Sky News Breakfast, and we're going to take a look at the papers now. Here with me once again are the Chief Executive of International Marketing Partners, Alison Stewart-Allen, and Bidisha Mamata, who's the author of Asylum in Exile, Hidden Voices in London. So welcome back to both of you. Thank you. Let's crack straight on, shall we, and take a look. We dealt with a few of the front pages which are focusing on the government's Rwanda policy and the kind of political pressure that's putting on Rishi Sunak to try and get his new legislation through. Let's take a look at the Times take on it this hour, shall we, Bidisha, because they're suggesting that his plan of success is just set at 50%. Do we know where that figure comes from?
Yes, it comes from commentators who are looking at it. It's not just wags on X or Twitter. But it is not incorrect. It's quite interesting to see that the Times are coming out and saying that, because they always have been traditionally a Tory-affiliated party. So your overall point that this is really more about the politics around Rishi Sunak and his leadership than around whether this slightly bizarre plan to sort of send asylum seekers to random Rwanda and to spend £290 million, an estimated 290 million, trying to set up the system by which this is efficacious. If you're spending this much money on something, it means that there is no system in place and that's how much it's going to cost. But the fact that so many of the papers who usually just support the Tories traditionally are saying, oh no, they're leaking all sorts of details around splits in the party. There are some who believe that this Rwanda plan is absolutely cockeyed, and others who think it doesn't go far enough. And of course, we know in the last few years you've had Home Secretaries who are very much in favour of talking about deportation, of othering, of making sure that numbers come down and bundling up together issues around asylum, exile, refuge, migration, and all the rest of it. I don't think voters are fooled by this bundling together of different issues, and Rishi Sunak is going to have a hard time getting this past the post of anyone of any point in the party, because I think the implication is that he's not as popular a leader as the party members and his own colleagues would like. That's my interpretation.
Well, yes, and the Times is saying as well that it's government's official legal advice suggesting that there's only a 50% chance of success, and there'll be a lot of MPs who are considering how to vote when it gets its reading on, it's actually the second reading, even though it's really the first time they've had a chance to vote on it on Tuesday. They'll be looking very carefully at what all the legal experts are saying, because there are some who want it to work but are worried that it won't, that it doesn't go far enough, and there are others that don't like the policy at all from the other point of view. They think it goes too far. So it does pose an extraordinary challenge for Rishi Sunak to try and make this work.
Yeah, it definitely does. And for all of that, on the floor of the House, there's the Lords. And the Lords have already indicated that they're not going to approve this bill.
The sheer unpopularity of this is proven by the fact that Sunak is trying to use emergency legislation to push it through. Emergency legislation is there for emergencies. It's not there so that you can sneak in and try to make happen something that you want to make happen.
Okay, well, so this one's got a long way to run, and I'm sure we'll come back to it as it continues its passage. But in the meantime, let's turn to some of the other stories around today. And Alison, you spotted a story inside The Guardian this morning, all about a fashion show that was a bit different in Manchester.
Very different. So Chanel basically decided that it would hold its latest show in Manchester, and it would take over a street. So it basically put a clear rainproof, as you need it up there and here, a rainproof roof over everyone, so the front row and the models would be kept dry. And it's a really interesting choice, because everyone would expect Chanel, given its heritage, given its Paris brand, to stay in France. But instead, it chose Manchester, of all places. Now, people might say, well, that's a really strange choice. Why there? But Manchester is also very much about culture. Pop culture, innovation, the Industrial Revolution, textiles. So if you think about it, actually this makes a whole lot of sense for Chanel to go to a place that reflects its own values as a company.
Do you think it shows that it's trying to reach a different audience as well? I mean, Manchester has got a kind of cool reputation.
Absolutely.
And kind of a street.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely.
So it's trying to reach a new audience, do you think?
Yes, Yes, I do, and it's the halo effect, if you like. So, Chanel did not accidentally choose Manchester. Basically said, where is a cool place, and how can we get some of that for our own brand? And hence, they went there. I mean, in reading this story, the thing that did make me laugh was that Jack Grealish was reported to have been disappointed that his contract with Gucci prevented him from attending. So a lot of the footballers did attend, but he was very frustrated.
With him.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on, shall we, to the Financial Times. And Vidisha, this was the not-so-shock announcement that President Putin is going to stand for a 5th term.
Yes, so he's been in power since 2000. If he by some miracle gets the 5th term, and we think he's likely to, given that in all the other times that he's run, the previous 4 times, the opposition have been vanquished in various ways. He will have been in power since the year 2000, but actually he was acting head for a year beforehand. And the announcement of this was framed with a sort of, I think probably it's fair for me to say, planted question from a soldier at a kind of military display that he was seeing. The soldier puts up his hand and says, "Sir Vladimir, Mr. Putin, are you planning to run yet again?" And he sort of looks as if he was thinking about it. Very 49, 51, his feelings were, and yet it seems that, of course, just in the interests of his country and nothing to do with personal ambition at all, he is going to, just forge ahead with the 5th term. And this is how they do it. I don't think this announcement is a surprise to anyone at all. I don't think within the country or outside of it. A country is not its leader. There are plenty of people within the country itself who are wary of Putin as a leader, and plenty of Russians who have left. And the question is, how do you turn this around? That Putin is clearly seeing himself as a leader for the ages. He's in this post. He's not going to budge. He's very hardline against opposition. He's very aware of the opposition as well. It's not that he's living in an ivory tower. He really knows who the upcomers are. Yeah. And so I think his ambition is to really stay in post for as long as is possible.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, the questions that raises for Ukraine continue. And I think we should talk about the Santa shortage. I promised it last time, we didn't get to it. So talk us through it. This is on the front of the Star.
I'm very happy to be taking the lead on this important disco story, but I am here to report today that Santas are down by 33%. The Santa tree has not grown enough Santas this year, and so their little red coats did not develop. If there are any middle-aged men who want to dress in costume and randomly show up at a Lidl or an Asda or many other places are available. I said that. I don't think that you should do that, but just to be aware that if you are expecting a Santa in stores and grottos around the country, be prepared for disappointment. Maybe you'll have to make your Christmas wishes elsewhere.
Yeah, maybe they need to incentivize these Santas by...
The talent pipeline isn't there. Perhaps some of the elves should be a bit more ambitious and put themselves forward.
Yeah, throw in a free chimney with every Santa,
you need
right?
If you're a Santa.
Yeah. Always got a practical solution. Fantastic. Good to see you both, and you will be back in the next hour as well for another look through the papers. Thanks for the moment.
Thank you.